Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss what were, for me, the most impactful announcements at the Labour conference, the moves to shine a spotlight on the egregious waste of public money by the Tories in recent years, as Keir Starmer looks to recoup as much as possible of these, let's face it, stolen funds in order to fund growth. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So now that I'm back from the conference, I can actually start doing videos on some of the conference news. I'll talk about what I was personally getting up to in a video this evening. But for now, I want to talk about the major political news stories that have been breaking these last couple of days. And last week, as the news was emerging that Rishi Sunak not only wanted to abandon a long-term Tory promise to build HS2, the only long-term infrastructure project they were still sticking with, but that he was going to block any future government picking it up by selling off the land. And I said that Labour should, at this point, hold a public inquiry into it. I also said they should announce it quickly as well, specifically to spook the horses, to get anyone who might be planning on taking advantage of these dodgy deals, like the land sales and so on, to think again. Would they really want to be involved if it means having a public inquiry led by a senior judge looking into their financial affairs? And then, while I was at the conference, someone told me Labour had actually done as I suggested. This does not occur very often. I don't think they were listening to me, mind you. I think it was such an obvious thing to do. Let me explain the benefits in a little bit more detail now that they're actually going ahead with it. First, obviously, it's a good idea to hold a public inquiry into a failed major infrastructure project, regardless of the politics, if you are a government that wants to invest in major infrastructure projects. After all, you'd want to learn, wouldn't you? You'd want to make sure you don't make the same mistakes. There will be lessons to learn. Labour will want to learn them in order to avoid pitfalls with their own projects. And this is easy justification for the inquiry. If the Tories try, this is a political witch hunt, let them. Labour need to know what went wrong, and the public will want to know as well. The second benefit is that it will turn up a lot of dodgy dealing on the part of Tory ministers. A lot of ministers. We already know there will have been some corruption involved. Boris Johnson's father, former Tory MP Andrew Bridgen, have both benefited directly from the house sales. That's already known. It's also already known that the government were still buying up expensive property after Sunak had already made the decision to scrap the project. These are things that are already known, but it would be ridiculous to suppose that what we know is not the tip of the iceberg. So if this inquiry turns up lots, an absolute avalanche of examples of this sort of corruption, Labour will be able to put a figure on the cost of Tory corruption in this one project alone. And at this time, remember, this is when Labour in power, Tories in opposition, they will be wanting to rebuild. So they will just blame their previous leaders. Oh, it was Rishi Sunak. Oh, but this goes beyond Rishi Sunak. Oh, it's Boris Johnson as well. And then it's Theresa May. Oh, it's David Cameron. Oh, it's all of them. But it's not us. It's not us. We're different now. But something like this should show that even those who remain senior members of the party were involved. There'll have been cabinet discussions. Third, it's possible that criminal offences have been committed. If so, and if Labour have properly funded the National Crime Agency, then we should get automatic investigations. It'll have nothing to do with the Labour government. It'll be an independent public inquiry turning up evidence. The National Crime Agency is independently going, oh, there's evidence of criminal activity here. We're going to investigate. So the cries of witch hunt, they'll be made, but they'll be difficult. Also, it will give the Tories a bit of a quandary, won't it? Like, what do they do if someone's in the frame here? Do they try and defend them because they're a senior member of the party still? Then they run the risk of being associated with their guilt when the full details come out at trial. So do they drop them? Do they abandon them? Well, then they may be abandoning people who've got the dirt on them as well. Could get messy. Essentially, what's happened here is Sunak has cancelled HS2 despite it being a popular policy with the public and his party. He got his party on board, although not the public, with various arguments, including one that it would screw Labour. Despite it being the Tories who U-turned on the project, they thought, oh no, we'll flip it around. They got their client media to try and make it into a Starmer U-turn because he has said he won't be able to pick it up again because the entire financial base of the project is now completely wrecked. But Labour have turned it right back on the Tories. And this alone will make it difficult for them to start to rebuild until it's all over. It was an insane policy from Sunak, with an obvious way to deal with it politically for Labour, and Labour have done so. Even if it didn't turn up evidence of serious crimes, it will definitely turn up lots of examples of Tory incompetence. This will bury their reputation for years to come. The fact that the inquiry will take time will also mean that lots of news stories keep coming out every few months over that period. And there will not be attempts to block the inquiry from accessing government records, as is happening with the COVID inquiry, because the government of the time will be only too happy to hand them over. Yeah, what do you want? Help yourself. But the HS2 inquiry was not the only move announced this week. Labour are going to appoint a COVID corruption commissioner. This will have all the same benefits of the HS2 inquiry. There will be genuine lessons to learn in order to make sure public money is better spent in future. There will be a lot of corruption uncovered as a result of this commission. There will definitely be criminal activity exposed in this case. May not be on the part of Tory ministers, but there will definitely be criminal activity exposed on the part of people close to the Conservative Party, whether it be donors or personal friends. There is no doubt about that. Now, because it'll be criminal activity, it will take longer to uncover, but it will be exposed. I remind people at the start of 2022, going back nearly 2 years now, there was a Conservative member of the House of Lords. Now, he was in government as a minister. He quit that ministerial position with a speech absolutely savaging Rishi Sunak, who was then the Chancellor, for basic errors of competence related to COVID spending, which allowed billions of pounds of public money to be defrauded. Sunak had to respond to this criticism, and he said, well, I'm not writing off the COVID fraud. I'm absolutely not writing it off. He has written it off. He's even announced he's written it off. But Labour aren't writing it off. Now, by the time this commissioner does their work, Sunak will be, of course, long gone. So what's uncovered will be laid squarely at the feet of the Conservatives. And the beauty of having both of these things, the HS2 inquiry and the COVID fraud commission, is that it will show the Conservative Party under numerous different leaders, all more interested in sticking their snouts in the trough than governing. HS2 was the only major infrastructure project that was still in the works as of last week. It's now gone. COVID was a time when we needed the government to be doing their best for the people. Remember Boris Johnson got a load of people to go, oh, a little bit of a drinky on a Friday, not too bad because they were working terribly hard. Well, this is going to expose that, no, they weren't working terribly hard as well. They were not. What's going to come out is they did do their best for themselves, only themselves. Remember that we also have the public inquiry into COVID in general going on. You know, the combination of all of these investigations, which are going to take place over the next few years, and all of them, including the COVID inquiry, are going to be reporting when Labour are in government. So there's not going to be any sort of rubbing out of lines by the government. That should completely shatter the Tories' reputation for economic competence. The biggest and best lie the Tories ever got away with was convincing people that they take fiscal matters more seriously than Labour. It was always a lie. The party is older than many nations, and they have always been the same, squeezing ordinary people for the benefit of those who already have more than enough. It's just that the latest crop of Tories are a bit thick with it, so they haven't got away with it. It may even poke at divisions within the party whilst in opposition. Tory MPs, they want to rebuild their public image immediately. But this would mean being particularly careful about who leads their party and whom they appoint to their shadow cabinet. If you pick some who end up being in the frame a year later under one of these investigations, you enhance the level of damage to the party due to the seniority of the latest resignation. But finally, these announcements show something else as well, something more positive. Yes, they'll allow Labour to learn how to deliver better value for public money, which means that we can get more for that money. Yes, it will further trash the Tories' ill-deserved reputation for fiscal competence. It does a couple of other things as well. First, Labour want and need to invest. Well, they need the money. Starmer and Reeves pushed the line that, you can't solve everything with the spending, but okay, the money's still vital. People wonder, how are Labour going to get this money without putting up taxes? But to wonder that is to think that the Tories are spending public money wisely right now. Well, they're not, and they never were. Labour are looking at recouping billions in not only removing unjustified tax breaks, but in taking back some of the money that was stolen. And also not giving it away in the first place to people who are not going to deliver that good value for public money. Second, it shows that Starmer's Labour are not going to mess about. How does anyone try to claim that he's just going to tinker around the edges? I mean, it was always a baffling view to have if you read the party's policies. But these moves are incredibly bold. Very much in line with Starmer's former role as prosecutor, I suppose, though, isn't it? Only this time he's ordering the prosecution of the entire Tory party. It's an indication that his government is not going to mess about when they win the election. They'll get things wrong, of course, but it's a clear show of intent to bring real change. And one of the biggest changes on offer is stopping the Tories from claiming, for at least a generation, that they have any idea how to run a government. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.